Over the last few years, credit cards have gotten more complicated. Today we're going to look at their evolution and how we got here. We'll also look at your options, whether it's tools to make sure you get value, or off-ramps for people that are sick of credits. Big favor before we dive into everything is to give this a thumbs up to help with the algorithm. If you know someone that might benefit, then share this with them. Okay, well, phase 1, how did all of this start? Back in the old days, credit cards were very simple. In 1950, Diners Club launched, and it was the first pay later card, but it didn't earn any miles or cash back. 8 years later, Visa popped up, and 8 years after that, MasterCard did, but neither had perks. Fast forward 18 years to 1984, and everything changed. That's when Diners Club launched the Club Rewards card, which was the first true credit card program, and you earned points that you could use for travel and merchandise. 2 short years later, in 1986, we saw the first mainstream cashback card, and also the first airline card by Continental. For now though, cashback, bank points, and airline miles were all still different buckets. 5 years later, in 1991, the first transferable multi-partner points program launched. For the most part though, at this stage, cards were very simple and had very flat multipliers. Think 1x back. In the mid-1990s, we saw a big shuffle with different banks offering elevated multipliers. Think 2 to 5% for rotating categories or different fixed categories. Main takeaway for this entire period was going from 0 to 1, and then pretty much finding opportunities to either differentiate or one-up competitors. Phase 2 was the arms race and the focus on travel. This started around the 2000s and is often considered the golden age of credit cards. We saw co-branded partnerships expand with hotels, also with airlines, even ones outside of the US. Another big focus were travel benefits, specifically airline lounges. To account for all of this, annual fees increased, but we also saw bonuses increase as well. In a lot of ways, this is why we even care, because intro bonuses are the biggest drivers in value compared to multipliers. So that's us, but what about the banks? One of their biggest learnings looking at financial performance is that if you charge an annual fee for these premium cards, yes, you might piss off some people, but you also draw more people to your product, and it kind of ends up helping you differentiate. It sounds crazy, but if you take a step back, it kind of makes sense. If you put credit card customers into a BCG style matrix, you can kind of see where people fall. On the top end, you have big spenders. On the bottom end, low spenders. On the right hand side, you have non-optimizers. Left hand side, you have optimizers. So on the top right, you have cash cows. They spend a ton of money, they don't optimize, and with the banks, they're going to win with the annual fee and also the interchange. These are people that have a lot of these cards, but who don't know about the credits and who don't care. They have the card because they know they need to have the card. On the top left, you have stars, and these are people that are big spenders, but who also optimize. Here, the banks might lose on the annual fee or break even on it, but they win on interchange and also word of mouth marketing. These are generally your main advocates who talk about cards for fun, and might be some of you guys. The bottom right are arguably non-customers, so basically low spend, but also who don't maximize value, so they basically see these as worthless cards and rightfully run to cash back. So that sounds bad on the surface, but it makes sense as a business. You'd rather have 10 people that love your product rather than 100 who don't really care. Like with most businesses, super users are who matters. The bottom left would be a lot of us, not necessarily the highest spend, and we're also optimizers. In the short term, they probably break even or lose money on us, and they hope we become stars. One of the most interesting levers for the bank is travel. Unlike cashback, you can offer potentially more value for some, but it might also cost you less on a net basis. This is the current playbook and their secret weapon. If you are traveling more and looking to do it smarter, then check out today's sponsor, Airalo. It's the world's first eSIM store that helps you avoid high roaming fees with digital SIM cards you can install instantly through their mobile app. One question we get a ton from our travel channels is how we find restaurants that aren't tourist traps. Our strategy is to use local review platforms. Sometimes that's a bit tough, if not impossible, if you don't have fast internet. Your options are either buying a SIM card when landing, which can be annoying, relying on your carrier's roaming options, which are usually either expensive or just very slow, or trying to find public Wi-Fi. eSIM solve all of this. They're digital, so no hassle, and surprisingly affordable. With Airalo's Discover eSIM, you get a global card you install once, and you're good to go in 137 countries. This is calls, text, and data, all with that one number. The best part too is that you can track your usage and top up whenever you need. Especially if you're on a multi-country trip, this could be pretty clutch. For example, last year we went to France for the Christmas markets, then flew to Korea, and then went to Hong Kong. The fact I can buy what I need and have full control is amazing. In the past, before we started using eSIMs, we got lost more than I'd like to admit, to the point that we almost missed a flight. If you want to try it for your next trip, install the Airalo app today so it's ready to go. Use code SEBI3 to get $3 USD off your first Discover plus eSIM. Again, code SEBI3 to get a discount and support the channel, and with one install, you're covered in 137 countries. Okay, so how can the banks target these travelers, but also weed out extractors? With this, we've had cards that launched with a $450 annual fee, but a $300 credit. The idea being that the target market travels anyways, so the credit feels a bit like cash, but that $450 otherwise scares away the non-targets. One obvious question is why even do this instead of just charging a $150 fee, instead of having $450 and then credits? The biggest cost for them upfront is the intro bonus, and this whole song and dance minimizes that cost. Phase 3 is the one that we're in right now, and arguably the most interesting. Also a reminder that all the prior cards are still in play. If you want cash back, those are still there. If you want straightforward travel ones, that's still an option, and the obvious credit ones are still there too. The meta that the banks realize though is that they don't need to actually be the ones footing the credit, they can find partners to do that for them. So instead of you paying for a $300 credit, why not find a partner that's looking for business and looking for sales? On the partner's end, it kind of makes sense because it's marketing. If they're currently spending 7 to 15% of overall revenue on marketing anyways, then this gets people into stores rather than just showing them an ad. Put another way, are they better off spending the money on a Super Bowl ad or giving credits to people to actually go in store and use? On a business perspective, it makes a ton of sense, so cash cows don't really care and might not even know about the credits. Stars are the biggest risk because you don't want to piss those people off, but they might still spend enough anyways that it doesn't matter. For a lot of these tier 1 cards, people are spending $30,000 to $70,000 on it anyways, mostly on the key categories like dining. Non-targets rightfully make fun of the card, and question marks kind of fall into two camps. Either you opt out of the credit card rat race, or you end up dealing with the credit and buying things you want. So in my case for Saks, cologne. All of this was how the phase started, but it's evolved even more. Potentially for the better, but it depends on you there. So before, you might have had a $550 annual fee of a $300 credit for a $250 effective annual fee. Now let's say it's an $800 annual fee with $1,800 in credits, but a big question mark on the effective number. The main reason people are annoyed is because you can't reasonably use all the credits. But you arguably don't need to. If you think about it, the goal isn't to use all 1,800, but maybe 550 to get to the same 250 effective annual fee number. Even if you get to 800, that might already be good and get to the break even where the other features end up being value on top. As someone with a lot of cards, a lot of them actually are premium ones with big annual fees, but also a lot of credits where I get value on top. I'm more than happy to pay $695 if I'm getting 900 to 1,000 in value, and that's tangible value. Okay, so let's say you hate phase 3 and this march towards partner credits. You pretty much have 3 paths. Option number 1 is pure cash back. That's kind of how I started, so it can make sense. The strongest iteration of this is probably 5% rotator cards, so for example, the US Bank Cash Plus. So I still have a lot of those cards, but they're no annual fee and kind of set and forget. Option number 2 is simple travel. There's a few paths here, but the main idea is that you're not looking for transferable points. One that used to be very good for this was the US Bank Altitude Reserve, but it is kind of a legacy card now. Another option is the Bank of America Platinum Honor setup, but you have to have 100K of Bank of America or Merrill Lynch, and you also have to have a few of their cards. These are fine, but lack upside, so it depends on what you're optimizing for. Path number 3 are transferable travel cards, but that have less annoying credits. For a lot of people watching, these are your best bets. I'm probably going to do a deeper dive in a future video, but let's speedrun them. Option number 1 and the most straightforward is the Wells Fargo Autograph. No annual fee and pretty good multipliers. This includes restaurants, travel, gas, transit, popular streaming, and phone plans. Transfer partners are a bit weaker, but it's viable. Option number 2 is the Citi Trifecta. So 3 cards set up by Citi, first card being the Citi Double Cash as your catch-all. Citi Keston Cash for that 5% and you stick it on one of the categories. Best choices tend to be either transit, drugstores, or live entertainment. Citi Strata Premier has it all together. There is a $95 annual fee, but there's also an easy credit, and you kind of need it in order for transfers. The credit is one of the more annoying ones, and multipliers are pretty strong for what it is, with pretty good coverage. So some types of travel, restaurants broadly, supermarkets, gas stations, and EV charging. Not a bad setup and pretty good earning power with optionality. The last one is the Capital One Dual. This one's great if you want simplicity, but also lounge access. The Capital One Saver covers groceries, dining, entertainment, and popular streaming. No annual fees, so even if you run out of other setups, it kind of works. The Venture X is the catch-all for everything else and some types of travel. Also, by having this, you can turn your Capital One cashback into miles. $395 annual fee, but you have credits, and it's reasonably not annoying. Obviously depends on you, but pretty viable to me and makes a ton of sense. And if you do keep it long term, then it works out. Given what competitors have done, this is a pretty good alternative. Other main draws, Capital One Lounge access, and also Priority Pass. So yeah, 3 different levels I'd consider with different options, and all worthwhile depending on what you're optimizing for. They also all work if you don't want a ton of credits. On that note, if you want to learn about cards and you want to support the channel, we do have links on the website, AskSebby.com, and also down below in the description box. Make sure the links are competitive, but otherwise, it is a huge way to support the channel, so thank you in advance. If you made it to this point, leave a carousel horse emoji in the comments down below for the credit card carousel, and I'll try to heart it and also respond. 3 questions. Number 1, how do you manage credits? Number 2, how do you think about setups? And number 3, has that changed over time? Let me know and everyone else know in the comments down below. Big favorite, thumbs up, share this, but otherwise hope you liked it. See you next time.